Hi, this is Larry Holzer from Rexel, coming to you with the latest of our modernization tech tips. Today's industrial automation control systems have typically relied upon physical servers that run the application both in a primary and a backup mode along with historian services. And for the most part, this has been provided to the shop floor by the IT department. Today, more and more, the OT side of the house, as we're now calling it, is being pushed into managing their own systems, yet they want to take advantage of the emerging technology of virtual systems and thin clients and those types of things that make up what we call IoT, or Factory Version 4. The factory floor personnel is ill-prepared to deal with that kind of environment, and so they're looking for a solution that gives you the ability to exercise that new technology, yet not make that your job. Your job is to still make product. So let's take a look at a possible solution to that. The Stratus Computer is a possible solution for those organizations that want to have the power of an industrial computer running virtual, yet they don't want to employ an IT staff to take care of it. So what we've got here is a computer that's actually two computers in one. And you can see the top half, the bottom half, they mimic one another. So this whole computer system runs as a single computer, yet there are really two functioning halves of this computer which duplicate themselves. Now by doing that, what this gives us is the ability to provide a system that runs just standard basic VMware with none of the whistles and bells. So you don't need an IT representative necessarily to administer this box, yet this gives you the ability to use all those products while running on a system that gives you a 99.9997% uptime. Now what does that mean in real life? That means less than 2 minutes a year in downtime, and I think we can all figure out what to do for 2 minutes while we're worried about our machine being down, okay? But for us in real life, what this means is the applications that we expect to run, and we expect them to run around the clock, are always going to be there. Does hardware fail? Absolutely. So how is this any different from anyone else? Well, it's different from the simple fact that if I lose, for instance, a hard drive, and I pull this out, and as you can see, it's no longer part of the computer. So you could say this computer's down, this half's not functioning fully, this half is actually picking up the load and continuing to run, as you can see, the application which we're paying this thing to do. This particular system offers the ability to replace live this hard drive, put a new one in, push it back in, and it actually repairs itself. So there's no downtime associated with that particular fault. I could do that to a whole entire half of the computer and replace half the computer that's in there on the fly, live, while the system's running, and never have any downtime. So this is a possible solution for the OT group that wants to take advantage of new technology and yet not have to employ the services of a full-time IT representative to do that. Following that, what that gives us is the ability then out on the shop floor, where we have the typical operator interface, is the ability to use something called a thin client or zero client. This box is a piece of hardware that actually has no moving pieces in it. It's got a chip in there, it's got a power supply, and it's got one board to bring in all these different signals, and that's it. It really is a throwback to the old days when we had terminals and mainframes. Okay? So we've got this particular box, which actually has no smarts in it other than a chip to go find its server. So when we turn this on and off, we replace this or anything else, there is no intelligence that has to be put in this by anyone doing a functional replacement on this. So if we were to kill this, or if somebody ran over it with a fork truck and we kill it, you can see we power it off. So there's no longer any power to this particular box. The functionality would be to go get a new one out of MRO, put it in here, put the 4 plugs back in, and turn it back on. That's all the electrician would have to do to actually maintain this box and replace it, say, at 3 in the morning. Then he didn't have to call you, wake you up, or anything else. So you've got a box now that's now substituting. It goes through its self-check, so it tests its memory and so forth, and it just checks to see if it's good. It compares itself to what was there before. It's got a chip in here, as I said. It goes in and it starts looking for the server. All right. So this is one of multiple different designs. This one happens to have a 4K output using HDMI, and that's why we plugged this one in. We've also got other models that are the same functionality, but they may have a different output. You may have different connections for video. You may have multiple inputs for USB if you're using things like card readers or badge readers or that type of thing out on the floor. But they pretty much all do the same functionality. They act as a client using a piece of software called Thin Manager. And this Thin Manager software allows me to configure these devices, and these devices then are set as far as their IP address is, what we're using for a display, how we want to see it on the screen, who's going to log into it, and what's the application that we're going to run. So when we take this and we set all that up, and then we have a failure, replace this, what it does is it actually goes up to Thin Manager, gets the configuration from Thin Manager that's been stored there, gets it back down to the box itself, sets it up, and then recreates the connection back to the session that I used to be running, because this is hooked up to a remote desktop server on the server itself. So we never actually lose the system. We simply lose the ability to see it out here on the floor for about 2 minutes. It's all it takes to get back up and being in a running position. So you've got the ability here now to be able to put a very inexpensive, very easygoing box. In other words, very industrial. There's nothing to fail other than the power supply. And if it does, it's very easy and simple to replace. And it can be done by anybody with a, well, don't even need a screwdriver. Okay? So an electrician can do it without any need to do any kind of device reconfiguration or anything else. So, and that's true of all these different boxes. And it's all because of this particular software.